have tested positive for COVID. A few months ago, CBP sent out a statement saying none, but then also refused to say whether they were testing in custody. So are you testing in CBP custody, and how many have tested positive for COVID?
Okay, so first, somewhat of your premise of your question, I don't agree with. So I don't believe we've ever refused to answer any questions. I know I've never refused to answer any questions.
I didn't say anything about refusing to answer questions. I said CBP proactively sent out a statement in which they said that none had tested positive.
Okay, I thought you said something about we've refused to give our information, but that's okay. So to answer your question, though, is yes, just like we always have. Again, this isn't our first rodeo with infectious diseases, although this is unprecedented. And so our procedure is those individuals that we actually accept into our custody, again, Title 42, we're removing them right away. They're not coming into our normal custodial situation. But those that we do bring in, we follow the procedures that we always have been, right? That means if anyone's showing signs or symptoms, we're going to provide them that appropriate test. We'll take them to the local healthcare provider. And we've done that. I'll give you an example. I think right now, and you can get with Corey afterwards to make sure I'm right on these numbers, but right now we've had about 60 individuals that are brought into our custodial setting that have tested positive for COVID. And I think that's very important. The majority of those, I think actually almost all of them, and again, you get some more fidelity on that, have been individuals who we encountered as part of rescues. They've tried to illegally enter, and they've fallen off the wall, and they've broken ankles, or we've got them and they're dehydrated because they were abandoned by smugglers, and we get to them right away. And these agents and officers are, no kidding, saving their lives, and we're taking them directly to the hospital. And once they get to the hospital, then they're being tested later, and we find out they were COVID. There's been more than one case where an individual that we apprehended in that situation admitted that they thought they probably had COVID, and they still continue to come to the United States. So, yeah, Christine, yep.
Christina Bob on American News. Thank you very much for having this press conference. You mentioned earlier that several of the immigrants or illegal immigrants either know that they have COVID or suspect that they have COVID. Is that based on self-reporting, or how do you assess that?
A little bit of both. That's a good question. So we have some. We've had one or two that we've encountered that just admitted, yeah, they think they had COVID, and they were exhibiting the signs and symptoms. We have other individuals that we encountered, and they were clearly exhibiting signs and symptoms, and they had other ailments. Like I said, either they dehydrated or they'd fallen off the wall, and we take them to the hospital, and then later they're in fact tested positive for COVID. So it's a little bit of mix across the board. So look, from my perspective, everybody that should really concern everybody in this country is that we have individuals that are still trying to illegally enter this country in those conditions. They knowingly, they know what's going to happen to them, right? They know that the human smuggler is going to abuse them and exploit them. They know that the human smugglers are going to put them in stash houses, tractor trailers. They know that, and they're still doing it. They know that individuals, they know or suspect that they have COVID, but yet they're still trying to illegally enter this country. That is unconscionable. And while absolutely, and we've been talking about this, I absolutely, the cartels, a human smuggling organization, make no mistake, that's who we should all be united against. Right? Those disgusting organizations. But at some point, we need to have the intellectual, honest conversation that in the middle of a global pandemic, individuals have responsibility too. We're talking about America shutting stuff down. We're having that dialogue back and forth on whether we shut down church, whether we shut down gyms, whether we shut down restaurants. But yet, we're not united to say that illegal immigrants should stop right now, especially in the middle of a global pandemic. It's not just about them anymore. They're not just risking their lives anymore. They're risking, when they get put in a stash house, they're risking every other immigrant in that stash house. When they get put in a tractor trailer, they're risking the life of every other immigrant in that tractor trailer. When they try to illegally cross and they run from the United States Border Patrol, and those agents have to track them down to do their job to enforce the law along our borders, they're putting every single agent's lives at risk. And that agent goes home at night. That agent goes home at night. Their mothers, their fathers, they have families. They're going home, and now their exposure is increased. And it shouldn't be that way during a global pandemic. Heed the warnings of your own countries with respect to travel restriction. Heed the warnings of the medical experts that are saying this is not appropriate behavior. You're risking everybody's life.